Hello and welcome back to Zelda Speedruns. We're back here with our second match today. We've got oneup versus Pikapals today. Should be another really good match. And we've got a slightly new set of commentators for this match. We've got Bjorn and Clearmouse. How are you two doing today?
Doing pretty well. Excited for more NMG.
I am also really excited. Glad to be watching this race. Actually, we've got two pretty talented runners for NMG. Should be really exciting.
Yep. So both races are ready here already. So let's kick them off. Let's get this race started.
All right, sounds like fun. This was a notable match. I think when I saw it come through, Pika a little bit of a surprise victory in the last round of the winners bracket, taking out Glan. He's had a nice run since this tournament began. He's cut his PB down by a lot in the last month or so, and he's had a very consistent group stage as well. Actually, in his groups, I think winning Group I. So really great tournament from him so far, going up against oneup in this one. oneup with the better PB, but they're pretty close. Should be a good match. Hopefully, like most of the matches have been lately, hopefully we get a great one.
Oh yeah, actually, so oneup's PB and also Pika, I think they recently PB probably around about a month ago, and oneup has a PB of 127. His performance in groups, though, is slightly a little bit higher than that, around 128 and a half to 129. And Pikapals' performance is right around the 129-130 mark. So yeah, this should be a really exciting and close race if past performance is any indication.
Yeah, most players, I would say, in the tournament thus far, they're about at that +1 to +1.5 over PB mark, which seems pretty reasonable. I think most players would take that as their average in a tournament setting. Pika has been kind of the exception. He's been playing very close to, or in some races above his PB, yeah. Which usually just means that he hasn't really reached his real PB yet. So players like that are always a threat to continue PBing. I think we just saw it in the race previous to this one with Relkin, kind of in the same situation. Hasn't done a ton of NMG, but has a lot of rando experience. Pika is definitely in that same boat. Lots of rando experience, not so much NMG yet. That means that either they can put up a -1 minute PB anytime, or since this game is very punishing and it's hard when you don't have the consistency down, you can be very many minutes off of that. So it should be, like most of these matches, interesting and fun for us, and hopefully for them as well.
Oh yeah, and as you mentioned, Relkin, was on, more, but much better than PB pace, right? And if things just go slightly awry, this game is indeed very punishing. Needs very precise movement, and if you have a misstep, right, like for example, dying to Vitreous, that's gonna be a pretty painful cut to your time for a race or for a PB.
Yeah, certainly not the first runners to die to Vitreous. They're not going to be the last. Hopefully they're the last tonight to die to Vitreous, but...
and of course, if there are going to be any deaths to Vitreous, of course we hope it happens to both of them, so, neither runner has, an extreme advantage. At least to that.
That's true. If there are any misfortunes, let's have them share the misfortune. Pretty standard stuff through Escape here so far. Had a very nice left poke there in the first key guard room that's very nice and hard to execute. We shouldn't be seeing too many strat divergences, not too many different strats here, but I'll be interested to see what kind of strat they go with here on ball and chain. oneup seems to me like he's probably been playing NMG long enough that he's just going to go with the slash, and Pika is also. Pika actually putting me in the corner. Nothing wrong with that. You can just get the boomerang. It's going to be a little bit slower. You see oneup taking a bit of a lead in the time and the hearts department, but not a big deal. Both of them getting through the fight. You just really don't want to die to that guy. That's about all that matters.
Yeah, actually, so if you knock the ball and chain guard into the corner, is it safer than just try to slash him towards the center?
I don't really think it is. That he's a very weird boss in that he's basically the only one that you ever fight. So you don't, even though you see him basically every run that you do, you don't really get as good a feel for how to attack him as you might some other enemies in the game. And so like when he starts throwing that ball and chain around, it just, if you're just a little bit off of where you usually stand, or you're just a little bit off in the timing of your slash, it can just start getting, worse and worse. It's just a personal comfort thing. Stand where you're comfortable and where you tend to not take damage is basically the rule of thumb.
Yeah, so speaking of not taking damage, Pikapals, I don't think we have his audio on currently, but with only on one heart, he is going to have some extra audio entertainment. Oh man, half a heart going to have even more audio entertainment than OneUp's experience while rescuing Princess Zelda.
The big thing is being on one heart coming upstairs like that is not such a huge deal, because if you get hit by that guard in that left room, you're only going to take half a heart, and there's a very easy heart to pick up here once you get to the back of escape, which I will be shocked. I said this yesterday and I was wrong, but I will be shocked if Pikapals does not pick up the heart under the pot in this next room, and then he'll be at 1.5 hearts, and that should be plenty safe for the actual dangerous parts of the back.
Alright, so we're just gonna knock on any amount of wood. I guess we can't even knock on a pot because I think it's like clay or something.
He did take a hit from the rat, so he actually only had a quarter heart there, but it gets the heart, so he will have a heart and a quarter to get through the back here, being very safe, booming all of those snakes out of the way. That should mean that he is in the clear. The snakes are the real guys that do damage back here. The rats are only going to do quarter of a heart, so he could actually take lots of hits from rats and still be alive. But he has fallen significantly behind OneUp here.
Just want to quickly pop in here to say that during the cutscene we're gonna do a quick stream layout, because we said we still have an old setting from the last stream, that's making the quality a little bit lower, so we'll reload the layout during the cutscene.
No problemo.
Alright, so yeah, so pretty well behaved rats, I think, for both these runners. Yeah, and you really don't want to die with escape, of course, and that boomerang is really paying dividends for Pikapals. The boomerang, of course, is not a required item, but it is. It definitely gives you a good amount of speed boost, and of course, we saw on Pikapals' side a good amount of safety as well.
It's actually faster to not pick up the boomerang, but it makes escape much less consistent. We're going to see actually 2 frame saves here during this cutscene, or maybe we won't see them, but they're happening. OneUp getting the nice rat frames, which he's stuck in this push animation because he took damage while slashing in the door on his way out of escape. And Pikapals just gets free frames because he's got heart beeps, and for some reason that makes this cutscene go faster.
Okay, so Pikapals didn't have to work it at all. In fact, he just, probably purposely maybe took damage at that point. Who knows?
Let's go with that, yes.
Alright, so speaking of safety and consistency, we also do see that both runners did indeed pick up the same heart. Of course, also heart refill are also not required, but at this point in the game, you don't want to die, and this is probably the freest and cheapest safety that you could have.
It's just extremely low % chance that your race is going to come down to skipping Sank Heart, and a very good chance that your race could come down to getting the Sank Heart. To my knowledge, I think there's only 2 runners in the tournament thus far who have done runs skipping Sank Heart, and I don't think either of them have done it in the bracket stage yet, and that's Andy and Lanxian. So we might see more gaming from some of the other players deeper into the bracket, but for now, everybody playing it mostly safe and picking up Sank Heart because it's just almost free, and it's so much safety here in the early game.
Yeah, you can see already out of the escape sequence and onto the overworld, those Octoroks do 100 damage, already kind of punishing Pikapals for no good reason whatsoever.
A really tough overworld screen, annoying overworld screen. Honestly, there's just some things that the Octoroks can do where they're going to hit you, and there's not much you can do about it. OneUp getting a nice 20 rupee drop, slashing may have...
A couple rupees here and there. Of course, they're going to need the requisite 110 rupees that we need to enter both Piles of Darkness and pay off the entry Kiki, so he can help us open up the dungeon itself. But so I think rupee drops you don't necessarily have to get, right? It's just really convenient as a time save.
You do need to, other than the tree rupees that you're going to get, if you picked up all of the tree rupees, you would need 4 more rupees from somewhere else, in addition to the 6 that you'll get that are right in the way in Aga Tower. So most players will either pick up 5 rupees. If they don't get any drops, they'll pick up 5 rupees from the pot in Desert, and if you still don't have them by the the earlier you get rupees, like 1UP, will let you skip some of the rupees from the trees, which will save you some time. Not having to pick up all those rupees from either the first or the second tree pull is actually, fairly significant frame save. If maybe not quite rising to the level of being an actual second of time save, but certainly significant frames of savings.
Significant frames. That is the goal of this game. Is we're going to try and save frames and not lose minutes out of it. Of course, there is an alternate route. Is that right? We can pick up some rupees, 100 rupees from the back of Sahasrah's closets as an alternative.
Yep, definitely can. It's only about, I think, optimally 4 or 5 seconds to do the tree rupees, and it is a lot harder. So if either of these runners go, and actually Pikapals, it's going to be very interesting because being a primarily rando player, Pikapals has a lot of room strats and maybe just overall routing strats that could stem from just things that he picked up when he first started doing the run that he either thought was correct because that's how he did it in rando, or just that's what he leaned on with his rando experience. So he's already shown a couple slightly off-kilter strats in some of these Eastern Palace rooms. Not super slow, but not exactly like NMG optimal. But totally fine strats, and he's done great in the tournament with these strats. So whatever you're consistent at is what you should keep doing. And we're seeing that here. He's basically kept pace with 1UP all the way through Eastern. They both have very nice Armos fights. One extra arrow for Pika, but they'll both have identical arrow counts going to desert. And now we can actually start the fun part of the speedrun.
Yeah, the most important part, of course. After completing Eastern Palace, the best incentive for you to complete the first 2 segments as fast as you can is right here when we turn in the green pendant to Sahasrah. And what prize are we going to get? We are going to get the thing that enables us to get super fast movement all the time.
We're immediately going to make really good use of them with all of the spin speeds that we're going to be doing on the overworld. With Pikapal's movement there, it actually looks like he is going to be getting the rupees in the back here. May even pick up the bombs as well. I'm not sure if he does that. Just if you're picking up the rupees, honestly, in a tournament setting, you may just want to get the bombs because, hey, extra bombs can't hurt. They're right there. But we'll see if he picks them up.
Yes, speaking of which, so we are going to see actually the rupee divergence actually we probably just talked about. Trying to pick up those rupees a little too fast. You actually see that 1UP actually is going to skip the back. So he looks like he is temporarily going to be slightly ahead, but of course he's going to have to pick up his rupees a little bit later. So definitely keep that time to account.
Excruciatingly, 1UP missed that first spin speed and didn't want to try for it again, which is understandable. You miss a spin speed, and sometimes you just miss the next one and the next one and the next one. But getting off of that screen on Eastern Palace without spin speed is so slow. So instead of 1 spin speed and then just kind of sprinting off the whole screen, you end up having to do like 5 or 6 dashes to get off the screen, and loses a fairly significant amount of time. So Pikapals getting the first spin speed actually claws back a lot of the time that going and getting the Sahasrah rupees would have cost him. And like we said before, he's going to make up some of that time in the Agate Tower split, not doing the tree pulls. So he may have already negated some of the lead that 1UP had coming out of Eastern Palace.
It's like 1UP I got the spin speed going towards the library. Unfortunately, he's missing the spin speed coming out of the library. So
classic, getting the one that matters the least and missing the 2 that save the most time. That's basically how this game goes sometimes.
Yeah, it looks like in this case, both Pikapals also missed the spin speed coming out of the library, so at least even things up a little bit.
Very good discipline, I guess, from these guys not going for the retries, though. Just deciding, all right, I missed it. I'm out of here. That can be really hard to do sometimes when you're just like, I want the spin speed. I'm not going to let the game win. I know I can do this. You miss it 3 more times, and then you're like, well, this is embarrassing. Everybody's watching me fail. We've all been there.
I heard that if you fail spin speed, it's only worth your time if you retry if you're on Hera, and I think on Death Mountain, every other spin speed is just try and dash and make your way through them and do the best you can.
Yeah, most of the screens in the game where you're doing spin speed are so short that a retry is probably not worth it. There are obviously screens that are very long where you have spin speed, the Eastern Palace overworld screen, the Death Mountain, spin speed section of Death Mountain, you definitely want to have spin speed for a lot of those. But for the most part, yeah, it's not a bad rule. Hey, if I miss a spin speed, just don't go for it most of the time, which is a hard instinct to kind of get rid of for some players.
Yeah, especially for speedrunners mentality, right? It's like you just try and grind out, the same thing over and over. You just really want to get things right? And sometimes, yeah, it's really just hard to kind of ignore that instinct, right? During the run itself. But so at least luckily, unfortunately we can't get any spin speed inside desert, but due to some actually pretty nice game design, we see these really long and narrow, hallways that we're just basically able to dash basically from, like left side to right side the entire time. Pikapals getting a nice red rupee trap, but unfortunately just slightly out of the way, not convenient for him to pick up.
Yeah, he only needs the blue there, so when the blue dropped and he ended up a couple frames closer to the blue one, he picked that one up instead, so it's totally fine. He did want to get above, I guess he has to have 104 going into Agate Tower with this route, and so now he's got 106, that's fine. But yeah, not the overworld is very difficult for this dungeon. Then most of these rooms, doing completely optimal is not trivial, but they're pretty straightforward. Like you said, a lot of long dashes and losing a couple frames maybe to a late dash. And then of course we've got the back has some RNG, and then Landmo, everybody's favorite light world boss fight.
It's actually a really pleasure to watch. I don't know if it's really a pleasure for these guys to do, but it's certainly very entertaining to see.
It's a lot faster than walking around Eastern Palace, that's for sure.
Alright, so talking about spin speed, we actually do see both runners not doing spin speed on when they exit desert and going towards the back. Even though, there are stairs, and I think spin speed does save a little bit of time. So, of course, the consequences of you missing or getting spin speed and then unfortunately being slightly reckless, or you can actually jump off that ledge. I assume it's going to be on accident, and if you're off that ledge, you're going to probably have to do the front of desert all over again. So
yeah, pretty dangerous.
The amount of time saved, it's probably, especially if you're not comfortable with it, it's probably not worth it to do.
Most players will probably save maybe 15 frames from doing it, and yeah, touching that ledge means you're just lost 2 minutes. But we got one up here in the Landmo fight. We'll see his first phase. Not the worst, not the phase, not what he's looking for. I think he got only one on the first one. Gets a little hit out of there. I think most of these guys only have 2-3 hits now. Probably not able to clean this up for a 3. Hopefully gets one shot on both these guys for the 4. Pika, very nice first couple worms there. One up did clean it up.
Yeah, Pikapals actually had a pretty good Landmo fight. Actually, we did see that both runners kind of bonked towards the wall and to get the initial setup. So at least the first phase of Landmo is pretty predictable, so you can try and get a setup for that. Everything else, you're just gonna have to hope that the worms stay in the air, and you can react accordingly.
You gotta read a lot of things that are happening at the same time in that fight, and Pikapals actually for a player who is a primarily rando player, and I don't mean that as anything derogatory. That is a fight that typically a rando player will struggle with a lot, but his method in that fight looked very good. He didn't have the best fight in the world, but that was a fight you could tell he's put some time into. He knows the way he should be doing it, and I'm sure he's pretty happy with the way that fight looks for a player at 129 level. That would look like a very solid Landmo fight. We have one up missing the fake flipper here, but gets in the warp, no issue. Pikapal taking a little hit, but not a full heart of damage, so it really is not too significant either. And he's through his fake flipper as well. Now we've got Death Mountain.
Yes, yeah. One up trying to squeeze by the Buzzblob. Unfortunately, Buzzblob was not going to cooperate also, so take a little bit of nick on him. Now, of course, half a heart probably doesn't mean anything, at least before Death Mountain, but we are going to see or come up to an area where there is going to be a lot of damage, somewhat randomly and somewhat out of your control. So as much health and buffer you have going up to this Death Mountain is going to definitely be to your advantage.
Yeah, it's more common to make it up the mountain without taking any damage than we feel like it is. When it goes wrong, it has a tendency to go very wrong. So hopefully, you just don't really want to be hit by this first boulder. You know, when you're stuck in this cutscene, sometimes right after the cutscene ends, you get smacked by a boulder, and we see oneup having some pretty good RNG, getting to the stairs, getting his spin speed. And he's going to make it up here unless he gets really unlucky with this last boulder. That's a good dodge. That was a really a tough dodge because he got on the stairs first and then had to pull himself off. Pika missing the spin speed. He's actually just going to forego it, which is fine as long as the boulders kind of behave and don't knock you out of your dashes. He took a little bit extra damage, but it's not the end of the world. He's got effectively 4 hearts, which is plenty. You can lose hearts very fast in this dungeon, though, so you like to come in here with as much health as possible.
Yeah, we did see that pretty much everything on Death Mountain does 1 heart of damage, and you know, you really can't really control like the movement. You know, the boulders of the dead rock.
Wow. He got around it. All right.
Wow. All right.
He did take a heart of damage from that bonk, and it's kind of unfair when you take damage from the dead rock and you don't even freeze it. But he looked like he was gonna be stuck, so thankfully didn't have to wait 8 more seconds in addition to the hearts that he's lost. But now he's on 3 hearts. This is a little bit scarier. Still not in the danger zone yet. I would expect him to hit the switch on the way upstairs anyway for the pre-Moldorm heart refills if he would like them. Not a bad tournament strat for anybody, and especially if they've already taken 3.5 hearts of damage.
Yeah, I certainly would not be a surprise to see oneup doing the same thing. You know, he does have 5.5 hearts, so he probably doesn't need the safety. However, we've definitely seen the tide turn if something unfortunate happens. Moldorm fall, getting hit by some of these mini Moldorms, or also just 1 heart of damage. And you know, your health it isn't even going to be like chipped away; it's just going to be bombarded away very quickly. So, you know, why not take the time in this case? You know, the extra couple, number of frames to hit the switch for some safety.
So John Rossums did that strat in Tile Room yesterday, and it stressed me out. And both players did the strat in this run, and it stressed me out as well. Like, just take the break, just chill out in the corner, man. It's so easy to mess those up and just take a hit from the tile. I was stressed out for both those guys, but hey, they did it fine. No big deal. They're both through Tile Room without taking damage. Good upstairs so far from oneup. They're both going to do the safe. I think that's still ACM Beetles strat in the Beetles room. Bomb jump for oneup. We're going to see if he does the spin strat. Most people do these days. Very nice. He's got his Moon Pearl.
Yeah, we did see oneup not hitting the switch, so he feels pretty confident going to Moldorm versus Pikapals being on 2.5 hearts. Certainly a very, very safe decision. Also, taking the extra couple steps in order to pick up that heart, at the bottom instead of picking up the middle pot.
Also, the spin strat there from Pika. Like I said, it's probably the most popular way for players to do the bomb jump these days. Oneup. Oh! He was trying to play it so safe, too. You could tell, and just gets unlucky with the way that Moldorm decided to go. It's hard. Oh, Pikapals failing bumper skip. We got both players taking some falls here.
Alright, okay, so, at least the falls are relatively, can even things up a bit, right? He followed one story that's actually a very high handful of seconds, but at least Pikapals, in this case, for better or for worse, kind of fell 1-4 as well.
He actually was lined up incorrectly the second time, too. Realized at that time and kind of bailed out. A pretty good fight after the fall from oneup. Gets him down. Not much of an issue there. We'll see if Pika can stay on the platform.
Yeah, looks like I think oneup pretty much is trying to chase Moldorm. Trying to read the RNG, follow the tail. Pika, I saw did a couple of dash strats. Otherwise, though, also just trying to,
Looked like we were going to get some north-south dashes from Pika, but he kind of just followed Moldorm north and south, which is fine. Pretty good cleanup from him too, so not bad fights. Aside from oneup getting knocked off to start the first fight, they both had pretty good fights once they got up there and stayed up there.
This has been a surprisingly tame light world. I mean, no major disasters so far. Oh, sorry, no major glitches run so far.
Yeah, I mean, for oneup, at least taking the fall before you've even really started the fight is not as bad as, like, taking a fall late in the fight, where you've wasted, 10, 12 more seconds on the boss, which feels worse. But he's through. He's got his rupees from the first tree pull. He's going to actually do the dash here on the bush crab, leaving the bird and the pickle alone. Pikapal's not going to have to kill anything or pull any trees, so he'll make up a little bit of time in this area.
Yeah, and picking up rupees from Spatula, right? It's also kind of like a peace of mind thing, right? It's like once you have the money, it's like you don't have to worry about anything else. You have to worry, in this case, about pulling trees. You don't. If you end up taking damage, it's probably between here and the entry of that tower. Even though you do lose your sword beams, you don't actually have to think about, oh man, now I have to go find more enemies and do backup strat in order to get the tier 3 red rupee flow.
Yeah, if you take damage trying to set up your tree pull for the Agate Tower rupees, you basically, whatever backup you do, you have lost time to Sahasrara rupees. So for the 5 or 6 seconds that it's going to save most players, it is a big jump in difficulty and consistency, and I'm sure you could do tree rupees. I'm sure you could do Sahasrara rupees for a very, very long time in your Link to the Past speedrunning career, and be able to achieve all of your goals with it. We saw oneup get the unfortunate arrow drop from that bird there, so he's going to miss his arrows. He's got 9 arrows, which is fine, but you want to get those arrow drops instead of losing them for free. So I'm not sure where Pika is in his drops. He's got 12 hours right now, which is fine as well.
Oh, bush guard! No!
no! And that is why you don't want to be doing the tree pulls sometimes, because now that's not as big of a deal for Pika as it would be if he didn't already have his rupees.
Yeah, and I think we're going to maybe try and get another heart so we can get some beams for Agate Tower, hopefully.
Yeah, beams are very nice. There aren't too many guards right in the way. Typically, the first guard in the lobby, the screen that oneup just went through, is the one you may go a little bit out of your way, slash, and try and get a heart from. Pikapals bonking and having to kill a guard, but wasn't going to walk all the way over there just in case he dropped a heart. We'll see if Pika... It's not a huge deal not having beams. It'll lose you a little bit of time, but going way out of your way, killing a guard, and not getting the drop also feels really bad, so...
So speaking of beams, we're going to see oneup trying to use his beams exactly for... Oh, no.
Yeah, definitely was too high there. Luckily, was able to keep the dash going, get the dash kill on both, not forcing any drops, which is very good. But now he will not have beams for the upstairs either. Beams in that room are primarily why we want them, so we can avoid forcing drops when we don't want them. But he got through, I guess, with the beams, although he doesn't have them anymore.
Yeah, so at least for the most important part so far, at least for on oneup side, and hopefully for Pika as well, we see actually both runners trying to dash their way through in order to kill these guards. Pika's not having as great a luck. Oh man, and he got a hard drop. Alright, so we want, so if you dash kill an enemy, it does not advance the prize pack. And we do not want to advance the prize pack because we have an upcoming heart and then fairy on side, and hopefully we're going to get that fairy drop with the pokies. All the way in Turtle Rock was the last dungeon.
It's a good example again of kind of the strats that Pika's pulling out. Not super refined just because he's not super familiar with the run yet. There's no way dashing from the doorway there is a safe dash on those guards, so it was not surprising that he kind of got poked out of it and was unable to keep the dashes going. Not in trouble just yet, since he only got the heart drop. He could still he needs to win the 50-50 in pod to avoid getting the fairy drop there. That way he'll be primed for the fairy and T-Rock, so not necessarily a reason to panic yet. We'll just keep our eyes on it in pod.
Yeah, and likewise actually for oneup, and certainly not to curse him or anything. So he, oh actually no, did he end up dash killing everything, or did he?
Yeah, oneup was able, even though he got hit out of that dash, he did not get any drops. He was able to dash kill both of the enemies. So yeah, he's doing okay. He'll hopefully. I mean, sometimes it's better to have gotten the hard drop already out of your way, but you don't want to get it here because then you're at the risk of having it happen in pods. So you want to see the Helmasaur at Hammer Yump drop a heart, and then you're super primed for your fairy, which most players want going into Chomps and T-Rock. But we're a long way away from that, and just a very minor optimization you're kind of doing here in the light world.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, so just because you do everything right, you can still lose both the 50-50s, and you can also just not end up with a heart or a fairy. You can get pretty unlucky if that happens, but I think we've definitely seen not fairy drops so far in this tournament.
Yeah, it's not anything guaranteed. And speaking of not anything guaranteed, Agadim fight here from both players. All we really want to see is the same number of blue balls for both players in all of these tournament races. But totally random what we get. No way to manip it. Very fun and engaging fight.
Of course. I mean, is there any way we try and get him to warp closer to you? I guess it's no.
Minor optimization where you're trying to hit Agadim towards the center of the room every time. So where you spin him, you're trying to kind of push him back towards the center just so that he has the shortest possible warp distance between all of his warps. I think that was either 1 or 2 on oneup side.
At least 2. I almost wanted to say 3, but I guess I didn't. I wasn't counting.
Yeah, he definitely didn't make it to 3. I don't think, unless I'm completely wrong. I think it was less than 3.
All right. Okay. So by consensus, we're gonna go with 2 on oneup side.
Yeah, he actually doesn't have a segment timer running, so I can't really do the math, which is probably a good thing. I'm not doing any math on stream. I think Pika has up to. He might be at 3 now. We're above 3.
See, now what a convenient warp right there, right? He pushed Aga like right, or he let Aga like basically stand right when he was gonna do the lightning.
Yeah, and there's a lot of places that Aghanim can go to that you really can't even hit him in any direction that you want to. So it's a very minor thing that you might as well do it because you got nothing else to do in the fight. But lots of blue balls here from Pika is not really what you want to see when oneup got out of there with not too many.
Yeah, no, so of course, this being, unfortunately, probably just got a little bit too close, we want some social distancing, between Link and Aghanim. Yeah, but, actually, so this being, of course, a race and a speed run, the runners are allowed, of course, to watch each other's stream. They're allowed to watch the restream. They're allowed to listen to the restream. And, this being a difference can certainly influence what oneup and Pikapals decides to do. They want to be trying and be a little bit more aggressive versus a little bit more conservative, depending on where their opponents are.
Yeah, ultimately, until it's really late, I think, in the run, or if a complete disaster befalls your opponent, I don't think it's going to change too many of your strats, but certainly late game, knowing you've got 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes lead, might change up how you're approaching certainly some of the boss fights, or maybe some hearts you want to grab that are a little bit out of the way, but make you a little bit safer. Right now, it's just comfy for oneup to know he's got about a 1.5 minute lead here on Pika, and now it's just up to Dark World, where nothing can go wrong.
Absolutely nothing has ever gone wrong in Dark World because, it's dark, so we can't see anything. So if we can't see anything, that means nothing's gone wrong. Pika just dashed right by those bombs. I was a little bit worried, but I guess it was that close.
If that guy throws 2 bombs, you do want to be a little bit lower. I don't know if Pika did it on purpose, or if that's just normally the strat he does on that screen. It's hard to know. Like I said, a lot of the strats he's doing are just things that he did when he first started doing the run, and he's hasn't put enough time in to be super optimal, which is working for him thus far. We'll see that in a few rooms. If you're really familiar with the optimal room strats for this game, you're going to see Pika do slight deviations on a lot of them. But ultimately, I don't think he's losing too much time to his strats. You want to, at this level, do what you do best. If he wants to keep playing and get a 128, 127, 126, I'm sure he will adopt some of the more optimal strats. Oh man, oneup missing the bomb drop too. Really getting no luck on his drops. You want to have a big nudge if you're going to beam that guy, just in case he drops the bomb. That way you can kind of, through the delay that your nudge will take you, you'll actually pick up that bomb drop. But he does get the heart drop here at the hammer jump, so he is going to be primed for the fairy later. Looks like hopefully that bomb is not too far to the right. He's got to move down one more. Now he's got to move up one more, and he should be good.
Oh no!
It might have been too far to the right. It was really far away. I do think he got on the right pixel for the second spot, but the bomb might have just been too far to the right.
Now, is he in danger of bombs or not having enough bombs though, or is this okay? Is this gonna be okay?
He picked up the second bomb there, I think, when he came back into the room. I think he did. So he should be fine on bombs. He will probably want to get an extra somewhere just to have a spare bomb, especially because it's a tournament. But he's okay on bombs for now. Usually you fail that and you have another bomb right there on the bridge to pick up again. And there's an extra bomb most runners don't get in Thieves Town that you can pick up if you're kind of hurting on bombs. Pika's, of course, loaded on bombs, having picked up the Sahasrahla bombs from earlier, so no bomb issues on his end.
Yeah, that's definitely, you know, like we talk about rupees, you know, being peace of mind. Those 3 bombs also are just a peace of mind. You don't have to worry necessarily about your bomb count, even if you end up failing. You know, Ice Palace bomb jump, Hammer Yump. You definitely got some cushion here in terms of resources.
See, Pika's bomb is also very far to the right. We may see, and hopefully we don't. We may see the same thing happen to him here. Nope. Okay, he's good. There's a very weird interaction where I'm not entirely familiar with how it works. Sometimes the bomb being far to the right can cause you to not get through the clip. And other times it seems like you place it just as far to the right and it's fine. But so nice first try from Pika there. He actually also did the double bomb pickup on the Hammer Yump, so loaded on bombs even more so.
Yeah.
He's gonna have 9 bombs on his way out of here, which is certainly enough to complete the run without picking up any more.
Yeah, so we did see, unfortunately, the Mimics kind of got the better of oneup, so he ended up having to pick up a little bit more extra arrows in that room, but otherwise, I think oneup, and also save that the Hammer Yump has actually a pretty, you know, reasonable, like, otherwise, you know, pod movements.
Yeah, pod really just comes down to 2 things, Hammer Yump and Helmasaur. There are other things that can obviously go wrong, but those are your 2 big time losses mostly in this dungeon. And speaking of, here we are in Helmasaur. Oneup going for the spin speed strat, I think I think he got it. I mean, interesting that he doesn't even hit the mask at all and just goes for the spin speed. Very nice fireball dodges while still getting the hammers in. You love to see it.
Unfortunately, got the hammer hit. The last hammer hit ran just right before the fireballs ended up spawning, so couldn't despawn them. And a little iffy or dicey, you know, fight at the very end, but otherwise takes helmet down.
He takes a couple hits there, but I don't think he ever thought he was in danger. He still had the 2 hits to go, and he'd gotten enough hits on Helmasaur at that point that he knew basically whatever Helmet did on that last movement, he was going to be able to get 2 hits before a fireball came out or something like that. So very nicely done. We're going to see Pikapals entering the fight now. This is a fight that kills runners at all levels of the game, and always will. It's just, even with the advent of Spin Speed Helmet, it's just dangerous.
Yeah, so speaking of that Sank Heart that we ended up picking up, you know, like 30 minutes ago, this is actually one of the biggest reasons why we want Sank Heart. Is so I should see that on one upside. Whenever Helmasaur hit Link, it's 2 hearts of damage, and if you don't pick up Sank Heart, you only have a maximum of 6 hearts, which only gets you, in this case, you take 2 hearts. But if you get the Sank Heart, you got that extra hit as a buffer.
Yeah, and this is usually where it comes into play. Pikapals, I think, went for the spin speed multiple times in the fight, missed it each time. Ends up just slashing Helmet down after taking a couple hits. Totally fine. You're through the fight. That's all that really matters in this.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's really actually good so far that neither runner has had an unfortunate death. Helmet death, it definitely can be very punishing because Palace of Darkness is also very long. You have to make your way all the way back to Helmasaur and try again.
Really, the goal number 1 of this speedrun is don't die to any bosses.
Or just don't die. I'm good with just not dying.
Or not die, right. But if you have to die, just don't do it at a boss. Or the overworld, really. Or, you know, like, I guess there's a lot of places you don't want to die.
Yeah, especially, you know, dying in the light world, you know, isn't going to be as bad, just in terms of light world dungeons are a bit shorter, right? Light world enemies don't hit as hard, so you can always kind of get back to where you were, probably within a reasonable amount of time, but, you know, Dark World really starts to amp up the difficulty. You can see that the dungeons are definitely a lot longer, and definitely require more resources and technique to kind of get back to where you were.
A large percentage of the screens in this game, it is possible to die on. Early on, you don't have very many hearts, and then later on, when you do have a lot of hearts, all the enemies hit really hard, and you don't have any kind of mail upgrades, and yeah, it's easy to die in this game. It's your run can turn on a dime, and that's what makes it fun. And that's what makes it fun to watch these
I have heard rumors that there does exist mail upgrades. And in fact, at least one mail upgrade is in one of the dungeons in Dark World that we do visit. But however, I have yet to see an NMG runner pick up the blue mail from Ice Palace.
If we're lucky, we might see somebody pick up the blue shirt in ice parlance. Thieves Town Overworld is actually very difficult to do optimally. It's not exactly dangerous, although you can take quite a significant number of hearts from a couple of the enemies. It's very tricky. There's some tough spin speeds and some really tight movements if you're trying to go for the optimal strats on these screens. Both players getting good digs. I didn't see if Pika got the quick warp there. There's a nice quick warp set up on that screen. Where his warp is makes it look like he got the quick warp, but I can't tell.
I don't think oneup got it. Of course, though, yeah, it was a little bit more difficult to tell.
We're gonna have both runners going into Thieves Town. Looks like on full health, unless this Usain Bolt here. Okay, so Pikapals is retrying this spin speed because getting through this screen without spin speed is a nightmare. So while you didn't see him retry spin speeds almost anywhere else in the game, he knows he needs to retry that one because it's no fun getting through there. Just trying to dash.
So if you, for whatever reason, can't get spin speed, dashing, that guard makes dashing like next to impossible, and it actually does take some discipline for basically you to, ignore the instinct that you just want to keep dashing and just walk off the rest of the screen.
There's almost, I'm sure people have gotten fed up with spin speed on that screen and been like, all right, I'm just going to do it without it. And I think that experience teaches people, never mind, I'm just going to go for this again.
Alright, so actually on oneup side, taking his first foray into Thieves Town, when he did jump down, he actually has some friendly pink zigzag movement. Sometimes that guy is just right in your way when you decide to drop down, and you take 2 hearts for no reason.
Yeah, tough guy to read. Sometimes he's going to get you even if you do the statistically correct thing, if he's in the way, and other times you can get a good read on where he is, and maybe even delay your jump just a little bit to make sure. A lot of things you might change up slightly in a tournament setting if you're just trying to play things safe and not take tons of damage. A little rough Hellway here for oneup, unfortunately. Yeah, everything getting in his way.
Yeah, it looked like he actually had like a good setup or a lineup for the right pixel, but yeah, everything, as you just said, like decided to just get in his way for because I guess oneup is just so popular in this dungeon.
Just a big source of RNG. Ooh, Pika not reading that red Zazig there. If he does make that early turn, you need to move down just a little bit so that he's not going to bop you. Because if he does bop you, you turn into a bunny and lose even more time.
Yeah, so, I mean, it just seems like everything in this game is, very precise, right? So if you do the exact precise things, the game, it looks really cool and looks, man, oh, okay, I can do that. Like, this game doesn't seem so hard. And then if you do anything just slightly off, right? It just can snowball like so much, right? Because so in this case, Pikapal ended up getting hit by that pink size at those 2 hearts, and he ended up losing time because he got bunny beamed, right? He couldn't even like dash anywhere.
It's speedrunning this game, and I guess speedrunning all games is more about doing things at the correct rhythm than doing them as fast as possible. A lot of times, doing something too fast is the perfect way to mess it up. Very nice Hellway there from Pika.
Yeah, much better luck.
getting some revenge on this split, which hasn't treated him very well so far. Always nice to get the fast Hellway.
Alright, so at least in terms of surviving through Thieves Town, oneup is in, looks like he's actually in a pretty good position. Hasn't lost any hearts so far. And of course, the bulk of the danger, of course, is Thieves Town itself. We see some nice sword beam safety there, being able to slash the Bari from afar, so he absolutely guarantees himself not being able to getting knocked off the conveyor belt when he dashes up.
Good read that RNG. Pikapals actually needed to use one of his spare bombs upstairs because his first bomb throw landed a little bit too high to blow up the bombable floor, but he's got a couple extras as we went over. Still, even with that extra bomb use, he's still got more than oneup has. Oneup now on the blind fight. Most players will be able to get this at this level. You know the script, you can follow the script. Every once in a while, doesn't matter, you can get off script, and then I don't think anybody knows what to do once they're off script, because who the heck practices that? But good enough for oneup, takes a hit there at the end. Nobody's going to care. That happens. The last couple hits are usually just
Improv?
not as practiced or precise as the rest of the hits because they don't need to be.
I mean, if they want to, finish up the fight, with their own style, right?
You learn the first 7 hits, and then most players just kind of do whatever on the last 2 hits. I think is how it goes.
And certainly, of course, coming from a rando background, both oneup and Pikapals have fought blind with a variety of different weapons in a variety of different ways. So certainly very expected for both of them to be able to follow this script pretty well. And of course, we know that blind takes 9 hits regardless of weapon level. So certainly very convenient that we have Master Sword versus Temper Sword. Always the same 9 hits.
Yeah, with rando experience, actually, Blind and Mothula, these 2 bosses here are probably the bosses that in NMG are easier than in rando a lot of the time. You have to fight these 2 bosses very early sometimes in rando, and you don't have Tempered Sword for Mothula, and you might not have 8 hearts for Blind, or sometimes even a sword for Blind. So this is comfy. This is a section that's easy if you're a rando pro.
So they're they're basically just taking a breather right now, is what you're saying. We're good?
I can hear you.
Okay, Discord voice call had a struggle there again. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Nobody's fault. We're back. We didn't miss anything. Tempered Sword was picked up. I didn't see if oneup got the fence dash because I was looking at Discord.
We're just gonna assume that he did. Give him benefit of the doubt.
Nobody in chat will rat him out if he didn't. So.
Okay, so speaking of fence dash, then we're gonna have all eyes on Pikapals to make sure that he gets fence dash as well.
I don't even know if Pikapals will go for fence dash. Good mummy room there for oneup.
Yeah.
Doesn't take any damage. Of course, this guy's waiting for him in the other room. Every time.
Yeah, I mean, he did so well in the statue room, and then, he just has an unwelcome host right by... it's, like, oneup did well to not take damage from that window.
It was very nice tap dancing in the first room, and then didn't get through, very nice. Okay, does get the fence dash.
For Pikapals.
Assuming we were 2 for 2 on the fence dash.
That's right. Alright, so we see a very similar bomb setup here in order to try to get the big chest or pushing with a fire rod. It's just, yeah.
Almost baited by that Moldorm there. Those guys can be really annoying sometimes.
Only sometimes.
Most of the time.
Okay.
all of the time.
Every once in a while, I guess you have a well-behaved one and just, leaves you alone. Pikapals not getting any really that good luck.
That second bonk was a little dangerous. If you're going to get the skull bush there, you'd rather get it going this way than going back. So at least there's that. Oh, this guy on the right side is in a really bad spot.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happened because Pika dashed up into the jellies. Typically, you're just going to walk straight up and slash the jellies. Him dashing up may have actually made that mummy turn to the left a little earlier than it normally would. And that could have contributed to getting him in a kind of a bad spot. He dealt with it pretty decently. Like, the one thing you're trying to not do in that room is take damage, and he didn't. So, sort of a win.
Yeah, hopefully he's gonna be able to keep at least most of his health, so in order he has a bit more safety when he comes down to killing Mothula. All right, so at least thanks to that bomb jump, and and some other damage, oneup is coming into the Mothula fight with not full health, which is actually what we want. Have a really nice mouth fight there.
Those are very nice poke dashes.
yeah.
Kind of tricky to get the poke dashes that far away from the edge, but obviously oneup has put some work into that and got it no problem.
Yeah, only 2 spikes missing as well, so definitely a very encouraging sign.
I don't think he started the fight with the double hit, which makes it actually even more impressive to finish the fight off that fast without getting the double to start. So very nice recovery there for oneup.
Yeah, because he's definitely be able to use the full power of the Temper Sword. If you end up having full health, so unfortunately, Fighter Sword does actually do damage to Mothula. Unfortunately, Pikapals get a little bit bullied by
God, that guy is the worst. The worst enemy in the game. Changed my mind.
Until we get to throw a rock, and then we'll change our mind again.
No, it doesn't feel like that guy should be able to cause the amount of time loss that he does. And yet he does, every time. So yeah, pretty good Skullwoods in the books there for oneup. We're gonna get a look at Mothula here for Pika. Avoids smartly killing any extra enemies in that room. Both of them having trouble in that mummy key room, actually, which is not a huge surprise. They can go off the rails pretty quickly.
So it looks like if we ended up hearing a flute activation or a call on oneup side that is 100% intentional, we actually want to activate the flute or call the flute without actually having the bird. On screen, it's going to set up partially our key action, which we're going to use when we get to Mystery Mode here.
Just a nice little cool optimization to save a couple frames in that first room of Ice Palace. Pikapals, Mothula fight was fine. It's a great example of sometimes if you're not going to be able to go for or don't know how to do the poke dashes, you're kind of at the mercy of Mothula. He didn't take any real damage from Moth. He got the hits in when he could. But if Mothula wants to stick on the parts of the arena where you can't hurt him and you are not going to go poke dash him, he could just stay there for a very long time. So a little bit slower of a Moth fight from Pika. Just one of those really tough boss fights to get in, and until you've done a lot of grinding on it, it's hard to do it very optimally.
So meanwhile, on oneup side, so far he has preserved all of his health, which is pretty important. You definitely want sword beams. So unlike when you go fight Mothula, you don't want sword beams. You really want sword beams for at least the beginning of Ice Palace. And the fact that he at least got all the way to Catfish, didn't end up getting lotteried by that Ropa on the overworld, so he is still potentially able to do some fast strats.
Unfortunately for Pika, he was paying a visit to the wrong flute location there. So he has to reflute back to Link's house. He does play the flute as he transitions. So he's got his variable set up. Might have actually YOLO'd his way onto the quick warp there.
Yeah,
yes, he did.
Yeah, that was a really nice quick warp there on Pikapals. Yeah,
very far left on that dash, but moved over diagonally the correct amount to get onto the quick warp before hitting the castle screen. Very nice.
For those of you who are less familiar with quick warps, it is whenever you transition from the light world. I'm glad he didn't get lottery either by the Ropa. Light world to dark world, or vice versa. If you warp at a certain positions, you get a quicker transition for animation, and then you get to save 34 frames for free.
Yeah, very significant, actually, if you get all of them in a run versus not getting all of them, and some of them are straight up free to get. It's just
actually
literally
free, right?
walk into, like, yes, well, there's actually free, and then there's airy free, so we're not going to talk about airy free, but there are ones that are just literally walk into this side of the warp, and you get it, and they're pretty free. And other ones have decent visual cues that you can kind of go for, and maybe even some menu buffers that you can use to say, am I on the right pixel before I hit this warp? And it's a nice chunk of savings. If you get all of the quick warps, you're definitely saving multiple seconds worth of time over the course of the run.
Yeah, so speaking of a really convenient setup, right? We see both runners when they picked up the quick medallion, they ended up bonking to the right in order to and then afterwards, wow, that fireball, in order to pick up the quick medallion, and that setup actually gives you an actually free quick warp back to the light world to get this run.
oneup took a little bit of damage on his way down in Bombable Floor, but it's not a big deal. He will now have beams for the conveyor room, which is definitely another room you want beams for in this dungeon. You can beam these guys down. You don't have to worry about them electrifying. Similar to Ice 2, where you want the beams to collect your key from the jelly. Looks like oneup just nailed the Ice Pals bomb jump setup. Didn't even need any extra buffers to get on the right pixel. Very nice.
Yeah, it looks like he also did pick up an extra bomb from the Stalfos, so that he at least has a bit more of a safety when he goes into Mr. Meyer.
Yeah, it's actually interesting pickup because he didn't need it, but it's a safety bomb, I guess, in a lot of places. If he had had a very bad time with Ice Pal's bomb jump, he would have had one extra bomb, and, you know, it's not... If he's watching a restream, especially, he knows he's ahead by a bit and can afford an extra bomb pickup in case some disaster happens. Probably not a bomb he would pick up normally, I would say, or on a PB attempt, but in this situation, nothing wrong with it.
Alright, so oneup looks like he has 9 hearts, is that right? Coming into Cold Stare also a boss you 100% don't want to die on, but with this much health, hopefully oneup won't have too many issues. So as mentioned before, the dungeon prize, of course, for this place is the blue mail, so you are expected to have some better defense when we fight Cold Stare, and every puff, oh man, unfortunate, that Cold Stare does is going to be 4 hearts of damage.
I don't know if that's the strat he normally goes with, or if he just accidentally pointed up and tried to make it work, and he almost made it work. Typically not doing up-facing poke dashes on Cold Stare, but almost got all the way through with it, so... If it was a recovery attempt, then it was pretty damn good. If it's just the strat he normally does, then that's really cool, and I'm wondering why I don't see anybody else try it. Actually, I know why I don't see anybody else try it. Poke dash is very hard on Cold Stare, optimal strat. Most players will go, most players for a long time will go with the 6/. I imagine Pika will be a 6. I'm going to peg Pika as a 6/ Cold Stare player, but we'll see what he busts out on Cold Stare. He's going to have a little bit less health, so hopefully whatever strat he goes with, it all goes fine, and he doesn't have to spend some time in, you know, Oko Cold Stare mode.
Yeah, especially right now, right? So Pikapals is on 5 hearts. It would be really, really nice if he doesn't take any more damage from here on the Cold Stare.
Yeah, I mean, 5 is a lot better than 4 for Cold Stare.
I mean, the technically good news, he's not technically a one-hit KO mode, just because the icicles do 2 hearts of damage, so he can take a hit from there, but of course, you know, having 5 hearts is much, much better.
And of course, getting hit by any Cold Stare puff is going to be 4 hearts, and we'll immediately start having anxiety attacks if that happens.
And of course, keep in mind that even as the last puff is exploding, you can still take damage from the falling icicles. So that's very, very important for you not to get hit. Oh man.
Oh no.
We are going to be a bit more tense here on Pikapals' side. Oh no. Oh no.
It's so tough to clean up the fight when it starts like that.
Yeah.
We've all been in that situation when you don't even get any of the first hit. This is a tough spot. You have a couple options here for your Pikapals. You can try and farm some magic here outside Ice Palace, and then redo Ice Palace immediately. The safer option and the smarter option is to just go and do Swamp Palace. You'll get your magic refill after killing Argus, and you can come back to Ice Palace. But it is pretty much any way you cut it, 3+ minutes of time loss.
Yeah, and you know, even with the Ice Palace bomb jump, which is a significant time save, you know, on the original Ice Palace intentional way of completing it, you still have to go all the way back to the start. That is not cheap in terms of time.
Which is the difference between success and failure in this game is sometimes just a couple frames. And he's a couple pixels too low on the first slash attempt as he was going to start the 6/. And then while cleaning up, he was probably a couple frames too early with his defensive slash, probably because he'd killed one of the puffs and it was exploding and making the screen lag. So the difference between something that works and something that kills you is razor thin in this game, and that's what makes it hard.
Yeah, so on one upside, as demonstrated, I might begin to understand why you decided to just stand still and wait for the bird to come pick you up versus trying to go towards it. We actually saw one upside. He dodged everything on Death Mountain. Everything was going well until he tried to dash through the grass. Ended up fighting a bomb for his trouble, and so taking 1 heart of damage before entering swamp. Now, of course, it's going to be the end of the world because we already come in here with significantly more health than we probably would have in a normal, casual playthrough. But this is going to be one of those dungeons where, of course, if you're not careful with your health and you're not paying attention, you're just going to get nickel and dimed away.
Yeah, damage adds up very quickly in this dungeon. Not a lot of things hit particularly hard. I mean, some of them do, but it's mostly a case of there are a lot of small RNGs in this dungeon that can just kind of screw you. There's other ones you can read and do the correct thing based on what you're seeing, but other ones just you're going to get hit by water bugs, and you might get hit by a jelly or two because they move down when they aren't supposed to move down. Having no beams coming in is not the worst thing in the world, so that's why most players will do at least a portion of their shopping during this split. So if they do get hit on Death Mountain, or if they do get hit getting Ice Rod, it's not as big a deal. It's more important to have beams for the other dungeons early on in the other dungeons that we've got left. But, Pikapals actually is in a very weird spot because since he doesn't get the health refill from Ice Palace, he's coming in here with very few hearts after taking a few on Death Mountain. So you usually don't care about your health in this dungeon unless you're in Pikapal's spot where you don't have much health to start.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to remember how much health you come in to Swamp in the casual playthrough. Probably something like 8 hearts. Is that right?
I guess it would depend how many pieces of hearts you picked up.
True.
It's probably comparable. I mean, it's technically the second dungeon in the Dark World you're supposed to do. But, I mean, you'd be... it's been a long time since I played through this game casually, I guess. It's hard to put yourself in those shoes.
Well, so I mean, certainly, if you pick up Sang Heart, after, and, you complete pod, you have 7 hearts, and then, so you have that 8 hearts of heart container, so it should be around 8 if you don't pick up anything. So that should be, pretty comfy, compared to...
Casually, you'd have a bottle or 2, and you'd probably have powder or something like that, so you'd have some ways to make it easier on yourself if you are taking tons of damage in here.
Well, actually, so speaking of safety, Pikapals does have that mushroom that he ended up picking up, where oneup did not from the Lost Woods. So this actually could be a little bit of safety for him.
Not gonna do him. Yeah, not gonna do him much good in. Not gonna do much good in this dungeon. Later on, when he actually has the cane, he'll be able to make use of it. But until for the duration of this dungeon, and then when he's back in Ice Palace, not too much use from that just mushroom. And we're seeing some of that bad luck there too, getting hit by that jelly, now down to 3.5 hearts. Probably going to be going into Argus in a state where he can't take any damage. He could always get the 2 refills from the...
And we're back. Waiting on Bjorn and Clemos to reconnect.
I think I'm good.
Yep.
All right.
God damn it, Discord. Please.
I can hear you, Blaine. All right.
Well,
what a comforting voice.
You guys had a stressful fight on Pika's side, or 2 hearts.
Yeah. This is actually one hit KO at this point. Right, definitely trying to be a bit more conservative. Hopefully, the last pup will just cooperate. Right. Oh no, Pikapals. No, Pika needs to remember he doesn't have magic.
Can we get the text box
no,
of shame?
No, no. It's definitely muscle memory
Okay.
in this case. Sorry, Pikapals.
It's funny. I think it's the last thing on your mind, basically. At that point, it's happens to plenty of people. You're almost never finishing a run that you die to Cold Stare in. So very little practice in remembering that little. You don't have any magic, but especially when he's focusing on, hey, I just need to survive the fight because I've got 2 hearts. So very understandable that it would slip your mind, like, oh, I can't actually fire rod this guy. Just lucky for him, he didn't get so shocked that Argus just ran into him and killed him, because I've seen that happen too.
Oh no. Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, not many people, or it's not often that Argus can instant run, but yeah, like, when it happens, when you just literally on, 1 2 hearts, and he just rams into you for no reason.
Probably the rarest death is a Pikapals death, but that doesn't mean they don't happen. It can be a place where you just lose lots of health for no reason, and especially if you're doing Death Mountain Trip in your Swampal split and just lose 4 hearts up there. So Pika will probably return to Ice Palace now. He doesn't have to. He could just do it after Meyer, but I would imagine you just kind of want to get back there and...
This is going to be probably the most convenient time. Yeah, we see basically him, going back to Ice Palace. Yeah. So as you said, the probably the most pragmatic thing to do if you end up taking Cold Stare death is just go to Swamp, because we did see that Pikapals.
Oh, I think we're back.
All right, here we are again.
All right, okay, awesome.
We're gonna make the most of this couple seconds.
I have no idea what people have heard or not.
I think I spoke for like 2 minutes past the last time.
Oh, that wasn't Discord actually. We just got the server region changed, so hopefully we're actually more stable
all right.
now.
Okay,
excellent. Did see oneup miss one of the torches there. Always unfortunate, but he recovers, gets the rest of his fire rod shots. He'll just probably pick up a little bit of extra magic later. Pikapals headed back through this dungeon. He's going to get his Ice Palace bombs again. This is where all those extra bombs are going to come in handy. Going through Ice Palace a second time costs a lot of bombs.
Oh no, so unfortunately the first time was better than the second time, and hopefully just as good as the third time. Pikapals ended up getting a bomb jump pretty nicely, at least in the first time. Unfortunately, I think he missed the timing slightly on, just slightly delayed, so that he had to kind of wait for the fire bar, but managed to get through pretty well this time.
It can be tricky using that sword out movement. If you're not going to menu buffer, you actually don't really get that many opportunities to reposition Link. So if you land on the pixel early, it's fine, obviously. Any of the setups are fine. You just don't get too many chances to retry. I think he was just trying to move around a little bit, and 1 or 2 attempts at the retry, couldn't get on it. But he gets a second try. I mean, he obviously knows what he's doing, knows what he's looking for on that. It wasn't a case of just, I think this is going to work, and then it doesn't, which is obviously feels much worse. Sometimes you just don't get on the pixel you want to.
Alright, so we're round 2. Cold Stare for Pikapals. He's coming in with significantly more health, so at least hopefully he can take a little bit more of a beating from Cold Stare than he can before. Ideally, it would be still like 9 hearts, but 8 is still much better than 5.
Very nicely done. Good single poke there. It's actually interesting that is apparently the strat. I couldn't really tell on his first attempt if he was trying to do 6-slash or if he was going for the poke, just because of where he slashed the first time when he missed it. Interesting that, of course, like the retry is always going to be great.
Yeah, of course.
It's just everyone's got experience with that, but.
The second try is always just as good as the first try. Right? You wonder why you couldn't do the second try, like just as well, like on the first try.
Yeah, because you just got all that practice the first time.
That's
one
right.
Up taking a bob
man.
from.
Holy cow!
Yeah, yikes! Whew. Thankfully, got kind of damage boosted the right direction there.
Not even taking any more chances with firing that last arrow, or maybe he just miscounted. But yeah, definitely one heart. So speaking of Sanctuary Heart that we picked up, this was an hour and change ago. Team Sank Heart, helping one-ups to basically survive this run.
Yeah, pick up the Sank Heart in your tournament races. That is one of the reasons why. That death would have been interesting. It's not quite as bad as a Cold Stare death, but it costs a lot of time, as we saw earlier tonight. But basically a full Misery Mire ahead now. One up if he is watching the restream, and I think he was typing in chat before. Either way, if he's watching the restream, he knows that he's got a comfortable margin. It's really obviously his race to lose at this point, but he's actually also having a pretty good run. It's actually a little tough for me to read his splits, but it looks like he's on a decent enough pace. Maybe not. Maybe I just can't see. My eyes are as bad as my math is.
I mean, no. I definitely agree with you, but I see a lot of red. But I mean, this is a race. Well, it's always, great to PB, and we certainly see a lot of PBs, so far in this tournament, which is awesome. The most important thing for one-up is that he needs to win over Pikapals, and you don't have to be faster than yourself. You don't have to be faster than anyone else. You just have to be faster than Pikapals. That's it.
Yes, and the first column is actually his gold comparison, which is why I thought it was a better run than it is. He's about a minute-ish over his PB, which, is fine. Not the pace I thought he was on, because I was looking at the wrong column on his splits.
Dude, can you even read that text? Honestly?
That was the other problem. It's not super fantastically legible for me either. So, but like you said, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of pace he's on. It just matters what he's doing relative to Pika. Taking a couple hits on the overworld here, but ultimately not the worst that T-Rock overworld can give. Gets the quick warp, which is airy free.
Wow, so rare to see. I guess it really is free. Yeah, but unfortunately, so he actually ended up getting through Waffle House Screen, pretty reasonably, only taking one heart, and kind of unfortunately taking another heart from the Dead Rock, so, but we've already taken damage, so no beams for the beginning of Turtle Rock. Certainly very convenient to have. If you have beams, we can beam away the bar from the very beginning, so there's no chance that we're going to get electrocuted off and knocked off the bear. In this case, looks like Bari is just friendly, moving out of one-up's way.
Pretty rare to have the berries sit in the exact wrong place, but it can happen. You do want to have beams if you can have them there. You very rarely have beams entering Turtle Rock, so most players know don't slash the berries. It's tempting, but just don't do it.
So we're gonna try and do some damage boosting strats here on Crystal Roller, or it's just the Roller move. So what one I'm gonna try and do is gonna take some damage, which is 3 hearts, unfortunately. But yeah, with those iframes, he's gonna get up to the second roller and just dash his way out of this room. Certainly, probably the fastest way to do that room, I think. Because you can also mirror out, right?
You can mirror out. It's gonna probably lose about 4 or 5 seconds for mirroring, and he knows that he's literally on the fairy drop. So even if he doesn't get it here, he can just get it from the next pokies. He does get the fairies there.
Yeah.
Not great chomps, unfortunately. He's going to have to go to the top here. Just play it safe. And he'll get out. Well, he might take damage from this guy. Nope, he's fine.
That is amazing. Those chomps end up doing 4 hearts of damage. Pretty much everything in this dungeon does 4 hearts of damage. because this is the last dungeon that we have. We are supposed to have blue mail at this point. So the game says, oh, well, you have armor that halves everything. Let me increase the difficulty again, pretty much by
Yeah, there's actually very few enemies in this dungeon. It's not exactly densely populated with enemies, but the ones that you do fight, they do lots of damage. The pogies, if the pogies get loose and start hitting you, if these skulls get loose and hit you, if the lasers hit you,
just hit you, jeez. I was actually really surprised to find out the first time that those floating skulls, like, they move so slowly, right? And they do 4 hearts of damage. Like, it's just nuts.
Yeah, you're supposed to have blue mail at this point, so you're basically effectively supposed to have 100% more health, basically, is what blue mail gives you, sort of, against most enemies. It'll have the damage.
Yeah, and of course, when one enemy can't do enough, like 4 hearts of damage, let's just, put a bunch more, in your way, so that they can, do 4 hearts together.
Pretty nice pokies for 1-up, though. He's going to be moving on to the back. He's got plenty of health. He'll have to do the cane strat here. We'll see if he goes for the fastest strat, which is the squeeze through Crystal Roller, or if he just plays it safe and takes a nice one. Well, he's not going to be able to do the squeeze. He left a little bit far to the right on that first Samaria.
Certainly very minor time loss. So magic also is an issue, right? Because you always have the full magic.
No, definitely. Magic, well, he got the full magic already, so he's going to have plenty. You can be in situations where you don't want to be using extra Samaria blocks, but you can actually, I think, if you get no magic drops in the rest of the dungeon, you actually have a full Samaria to spare. Maybe 2 Samarias to spare? Maybe just 1. 1 sounds right. But yeah, there are situations you're almost always getting magic, or you can pick magic up in pokies too if it comes down to it. So if you have a disaster chomps where you use a bunch of extra canes, and then you also have a disaster crystal roller where you use extra canes, you can actually make it to the maze and not have enough magic for the Samaria platform, in which case you have to backtrack a significant amount. Luckily, that doesn't happen. It pretty much will happen to every player once, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, I have to pay attention to my magic in that spot.
Yeah, so at least thankfully, we're only using Kingdom Samaria shots pretty much, up till this point where we do have a full magic refill, coming, so... Alright, so I'm certainly expecting to see backdoor strats from 1-up. He's a pretty confident random play, as I'm proving immediately wrong, and he's just going to wait for Trinix head to spawn. Of course, backdoor being, I think he's guaranteed 1 cycle for Trinix, but also doesn't matter because 1-up did just as good, with facing him head on.
Yeah, front door strats are very easy. I actually did them for a very long time before switching to backdoor. Backdoor will guarantee, well, maybe not guarantee, but you'll get more of the no movement 1 cycles from Trinex than you can sometimes get on the front door strats. But no real issue with more dead rock issues for Pika here. Gosh, this overworld is just so rough. Pikapals has had it, you can tell too. How did he even get through there? What? Oh my goodness! I can't believe he dashed through that. Didn't even turn the dead rock to stone a second time. Anyway, wow, he's into Turtle Rock too.
I really wanted to see Pikapals take some revenge and fake powder one of the dead rocks and turn him into one of those whatever those yellow bean looking things.
Oh yeah, whatever they turned into.
Mm-hmm. Get some revenge for once.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was actually had been a very solid Dark World for Pika. He had a lot of blue balls from Aga, and he was basically saving time in all of his Dark World splits up until, obviously, the Ice Palace disaster.
Yeah. Alright, 1-up. On his way to Ganon's Tower. This is definitely very difficult in terms of execution. And so this actually can be quite high variance just in terms of run and performance.
Yeah, great end to the speedrun. Just really fun to play. Sometimes it's frustrating in the moment, but a really fun way to end the speedrun, both from a playing and watching standpoint. GT and then Ganon, just a great ending putting everything that you've kind of learned in the rest of your speed run to test here. And yeah, like you said, it's very difficult, so you get a lot of variance. It's not uncommon to just lose 30 seconds in this split.
Yeah, and it's actually a good combination of both execution and puzzle solving. So there are definitely some rooms where you definitely try and do as precisely as you can. There are going to be other rooms where your timing is probably going to be just like the most important. Gate and Ball Z room, the Wizard's room, which is actually really cool to see, also very satisfying. In that you can also just try and slash the Wizards, but if you place the Canis Mario block down at the right spot, they all just die at once. I think that's actually, I consider that more to be puzzle than anything else.
You've also got the Gauntlet once you get upstairs, which is a really cool, fast-paced test of your execution. Pika almost actually died in Chomps there, getting some bad RNG and then sliding off of the block before he had fully pushed it, which does happen to people from time to time. Gets out, recovers, actually doesn't die, which is... when Chomps goes that badly, usually you do just take a death when you're retrying the other side, but he gets out of there fine. oneup had a little bit of an issue getting the damage, getting the iframes for the spike switch room. I don't even know what that room is actually called. Oh, Pika going for the bottom left strat. That is the hardest strat in that room. The fastest RNG, but the hardest strat to execute. And he is going to continue. Here, it looks like he's going back in. I'm sure if he's not watching the restream, he suspects that he's in trouble, but he's going to keep going at least.
Of course,
maybe as he maps, he might he might have been reconsidering there. Like, maybe I don't want to keep going.
He's, maybe he just need a reminder of where he, how to backtrack back to, where he was in the dungeon. And so a part of also kind of, I think, maybe may or may not been what happened is you are in Turtle Rock with 13 hearts and Creed Mail, and at this point, when you only have 3 hearts left, your heart beeps don't register, right? Like you are, like it's not, your hearts aren't technically, I think, low percentage enough for basically more audio cues to kind of warn you that you are in danger. Please get some more help as a refill. And so it's almost kind of like a false sense of security. And of course, being everything hits so much in Turtle Rock, it's just very easy to just die.
Yeah, I think the way most players will register it in their brains is if I take any damage in this split, it's panic mode time. Pika gets the same RNG there, actually does not die. Unfortunately, couldn't get close enough to pick up the key, and he's going to get bunny beamed, but a little bit better of an attempt there. That is a very tricky RNG to get down. With the skull being there, you can just kind of poke him and lose your sword, and then not spin the pokey, which is exactly what happened on his first attempt. A little bit better on the second attempt, but still very hard to get that all the way through. Let's go back and hit the switch there. We've got oneup going into the gauntlet now. Uses his last arrow. Should not be a problem. Gauntlet is very fun. There's lots of stuff going on in Gauntlet. Lots of different RNGs to read. You've got everybody's got the patterns that they like in Gauntlet, and then they've got the patterns which they basically maybe don't even really know what to do on. And
he's getting kind of bullied here on the first couple rooms, unfortunately. Sizek's not cooperating with him. He is getting the most left and right.
Yeah, so much knowledge required for this section of GT, and you need to know what you should do on every different enemy movement, and then you need to be able to accurately read those enemies. It's a lot of work goes into getting really good at the Gauntlet. The top players in this game who have the best GTs have put so much time and effort into their GTs that it's they make it look very easy, and it's not that easy.
Yeah, and unfortunately, oneup, taking a bit of a beating here from the Gauntlet. Just pick up a safety heart as we going through, kind of the end of the Gauntlet. Oh, gets a nice heart drop from the Wizards as well. Those Wizards, by the way, you really would, it's very satisfying to see the Canis Mario block kill all of them. They also do 4 hearts of damage, so you really don't want to touch them.
I always used to love when I first started doing speedruns of this game, and I would get to GT. I would love getting that heart drop from that Wizard over there that oneup got. It just felt like a little bit of an extra safety blanket as I was going to the top of GT. Practically, it really doesn't matter. He's on 6 hearts instead of 5. That's effectively the same for the rest of the run. He's going to pick up safety car here. He knows, I'm sure, that
Yeah, I was
he's
gonna
well ahead
say.
at this point, so he's just going to play it as safe as possible. Even a death at the top of the tower here, which is extremely unlikely, doesn't seem like it would swing the race. He's got enough of a lead, but still, you don't want to die. You want to finish out the run, feel good about it, and the run he's had so far, he can feel good about. So.
Yeah, I mean, you also don't want to be under pressure, right? Just because you can take a death and still probably come out ahead, right? Like you have, let's say, whatever, like a minute and a half, 2 minute lead or something. It's much better than like a 15-second lead. You can definitely play a lot more under pressure. Patiently waiting for Mulder to explode and hook over the chest.
On Pikapals' side, he's dispatched with Trinex, so he's through Turtle Rock as well. He'll be headed into GT pretty much as oneup is hopefully dropping into Ganon, unless there's some kind of real prolonged Aghanim issue here.
Yep, so we thought that we wanted good patterns and no blue balls for Aga 1, just similar, and for Aga 2, we're hoping for ideally 2 cycles, but 3 is just as good as 2.
Ooh, almost got the triple there. That was close. And then, of course, a blue ball.
Yeah, look at that pesky blue ball. Just as annoying for Aga 1 as Aga 2.
Release the spin a little early. This fight is so hard, and yeah, we're seeing this fight is so hard. On pace, this fight is a disaster every time that I do it, and cleans it up. Actually, gets a nice double there to finish it. That's at least you can feel good on the way out.
Alright, so he's dropping down again with 5.5 hearts. So, of course, anyway, that it's actually pretty nice. All things considered, we can't touch Ganon. Ganon is 8 hearts, so that's definitely will be a death. But I think Fire Blast in this case do like 2 hearts of damage. I think the early phase 1, phase 2 to 4. So he's got a bit of a buffer.
Yeah, he can take a hit from one of the Fire Bats. You always want to have like 4.5, just in case you do take a Fire Bat hit. You can, if you're a little bit slow, take a Fire Bat, but. He is pretty comfortably going to win this race no matter what happens here, I would say. So he's just going to look to do his normal strats and finish off a pretty solid run solidly. Very nice start. Looks like he's going to have the 1-1, no issue.
Yeah, definitely taking a bit of solace. I have been told that standing inside the circle is the safest place to be. Holy cow!
It was safe until he left early. Usually he'll stay in the circle a little bit longer. The safest place actually is inside the circle of Fire Bats once they start expanding. And he just kind of left. He decided, no, I'm out of here. I'm leaving, and ended up getting hit for it. But he could take a hit from the Fire Bats, like we said. That's kind of the benchmark you want going in. And he's going to be into phase 4 now very quickly.
Yeah, so definitely space him. Most likely, as you said, he's probably watching the release stream, or at least knowing where Pikapals is, right? Got the lamp out. I don't know what he's most comfortable with to try and get Torch Glitch, but lamp is, you can just spam that lamp, right? And make sure you get it, as opposed to Fire Rod, which is one shot. Why risk, in this case, dying to Ganon or not getting Torch Glitch when you're this far ahead?
Yeah, no issues at all. I mean, even if he doesn't know where he is and just wants to do that in a tournament setting, it's not going to lose very much time at all to do it. And looks like he's hit almost all the spins he's gone for so far. Knew he couldn't get that one, so I think he just gave Ganon kind of a wave.
These are pretty nice triples. That is the last silverless spin on oneup side. So excited, ready to dash into the Triforce room. So he just has to get through this fanfare, wait a little bit, and we can get ourselves a winner for this race from oneup and Pikapals. See if we can get an official time. Finishing with an official time of 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 46 seconds. That is actually pretty close to PB. His PB is 1:27.05.
Yeah, he saved a lot of time versus his PB in these last couple splits, so you love to see it. You like to finish strong, even if your run hasn't been great. And I'd say his run was solid until then, and then he still finished strong. So
yeah,
you come out here with the win and feeling good about it. It's gotta be a nice day. It does look like Pika has decided, I think, yes, to forfeit here as he picks up the big key. Understandable. He was going to have to spend another however many minutes to finish up, and he'd had an adventure today, as we can all kind of empathize with that. If you've ever run this game trying to go fast, it is not easy.
Yeah, I mean, he has 2 deaths, one in Turtle Rock, one Cold Stare, and, normally, I mean, really, kudos to Pikapals for even, finishing or playing, up till this point, basically where he did, it's actually very difficult to kind of pick up a run, mentally, after taking a death. So the fact that he got this far, with this time is really
Oh yeah, and Pikapal's not out of the tournament either. He's had a great run so far in the tournament. Very consistent play. This is the first time he's kind of had an issue, and it's an issue that anybody that speedruns this game is very familiar with. He'll have another matchup in the lower bracket, and so he'll be able to, maybe regroup, put it back together, and get some more good runs in before his tournament. Like most of our tournaments will end, his will end. Same as a lot of us will have their tournament end before we kind of want them to. But he's really been impressive so far, pre-tournament, during the groups, and now even in this couple of his bracket matches as well. I think we were joined now by oneup. oneup, if that was you, GG. Congratulations on the win. Nice run.
Yeah, GG's.
Yeah, thanks. GG's to Pika. Yeah, I wasn't watching the restream, so I didn't see what happened there, but yeah.
Pikapals was doing pretty well. A little behind you. He had some more blue balls at Aga. A little bit slower Light World. Ended up with the run basically ending at Cold Stare, taking a Cold Stare death. Also took a death at Pokies in T-Rock, so multiple minutes behind at that point. Just takes the forfeit after. Yeah, I mean, we're all familiar with that, right? But on your side, very solid. Nice end game. You saved a lot of time versus your PB in the end game. Got to be pretty happy with this as a tournament run, right?
Yeah, I had a couple of big mistakes in there, but thankfully I managed to avoid the huge disasters, which I haven't always been successful with avoiding, so, that helps. I mean, these splits on, I don't know, I didn't have the best time, kind of, in the end game on these splits, but, I did a little better this time around than those, so that felt pretty good.
Yeah, saving 30 seconds after Ice Palace, and that was even after, losing some time in GT compared to your PB, so it tells me that you've clearly got PBs on the way when you've got that much time available to save late game, but I'm kind of putting the benchmark in this tournament as, if you're plus a minute over your PB in a tournament run, that's got to be pretty good, so you're within that minute, which, tells me I think there's a lot to be satisfied with the run for you.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we were also joined by Pikapals there. GG Pika.
GG's, yeah.
GG.
Hey, GG's.
Cold Stare death. If you run this game, you die to Cold Stare. I mean, everybody's familiar with it, so we can all empathize. It's just one of those things that happens. Your run was pretty solid until that point. And then just after that, it's so hard to recover. So you so rarely even finish a run after dying to Cold Stare. So, it wasn't your only disaster. You had some more rough spots in T-Rock after that, but understandable. I think everything before that was pretty solid.
Yeah, it was, it felt fine, for the most part, and, obviously, some issues in various places, but nothing, big. Then Aga throws 7 out of 7 blue balls at you.
You never want to see that, too, just getting the big 7. Were you watching the restream?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, you weren't. All right, so neither of you were watching. I kind of enjoy that too. I don't like to watch in my races either. So, 7 versus. Did you get 1 or 2 oneup?
I believe it was 2.
Okay, yeah, we're not the best counters here, so we weren't sure. We thought by process of elimination it was 2 on your side. So yeah, that was most of the difference. I mean, I think you were a little ahead coming out of Light World oneup even before that. But Dark World was pretty even for the first couple splits there. It was looking like it was going to either hang around 30-second difference or something like that, and then just Ice Palace. It's got to be Ice Palace for Pika. So just one of those things, it's a hard game. You were just a couple frames off of what you were trying to do working, and when you're just a couple frames off sometimes on some of these screens, you die and lose 3 minutes, and that's the game. Nothing to really feel ashamed of. You've had a great run so far in this tournament, honestly, Pika. Winning last round in the upper bracket, winning the group. So I think at least I've certainly taken notice by I've known you mostly as a rando player. That I think you're showing you've got a lot of these NMG chops as well.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, for a while I was just there's one point I was like, I'm just gonna try to keep powder till I get sub 130 just to see if I can. And then I pulled it off on like my first tourney race. and then, before, like a couple days before playing Glan, I was like, well, if I want to win this race, I should probably stop grabbing powder when I don't need it.
Yeah, it could be a hard safety to let go of. But, the fake powder is good enough to get you most of the way there. Usually when you're using powder, it's going to be in those late game splits where you have opportunities to fake powder anyway. So mushroom is a great safety. Just pick that up, fake powder if you really need to. I think you're right around the point where most players are dropping powder for fake powder, so that makes a lot of sense. And we were talking pre-stream before the race got going. Also, like, the number of PBs that you've thrown up recently, like, just means that you're not at your real PB yet anyway. Like, you're going to keep PBing. I think if your sum of best is to be believed, you're 3-ish minutes underneath your PB. So you're going to be taking a lot more time off your PB pretty soon, I'd say.
Yeah, unfortunately, my sum of best is lying to everyone.
Okay.
For some reason, it absolutely refuses to believe blue balls is a real split, which understandable, but...
Live Split does a lot of fun stuff with our times.
It's like a minute and a half off because of that.
Well, still, it looks like you're going to have some PBs in your near future, maybe even before the tournament is done. You're going to be dropping down into the lower bracket. I don't think you have a matchup just yet, but you will be playing. You'll be playing the winner of Blue Sentio and Wera, and I think they're playing later this week. So your matchup's going to be set pretty soon. One up on your end. A win here takes you into your next matchup against Void, who just PB'd today. How are you feeling about that?
Oh man, I hadn't heard that he PB'd. Yeah, we were in the same group, so we played there. And yeah, that's gonna be a hard matchup, that's for sure. Definitely gonna have to play a bit better than I did today if I want to have a chance of winning that, I think.
Yeah, Void's a great runner. He obviously speedruns a lot of games, and he has come back to NMG for this tournament and been playing a lot on stream. So it's been good to see him get back. He did, I think, just get the 125.49 today, so newly christened 125 runner. But this game being what it was, I think anybody in the brackets can beat anybody else that's remaining in the brackets at this point. So you go out there, you try to play your best, and maybe you get a win. But either
I've heard that your first run or set of runs that you do after your PP is always going to be trash anyway. So
that's true. Maybe you might be catching him at the right time.
and actually,
we'll see about that.
If you manage to move past Void, one up, your next opponent's going to be Yoho. It's like a group reunion for you.
Yeah,
it's so
pretty
weird
much.
how that happened.
The winner of this gets another group rematch against Yoho.
What idiot designed this system?
I know, right?
And I was wondering if there was like a situation like that between like the second part of the groups in the first and second rounds, but interesting to see that it somehow got the 3-person lineup in the top half.
Yeah, there was just enough offsetting of the bracket seeds, I guess, to make it work out perfectly for that group. There are a couple other group rematches happening Shady and Kyong is a group rematch, and I think Lanxian and Trinex also coming up in the same winners bracket. Round 4 is going to be a group rematch, so it's happening in a couple places, but that just means people are getting an opportunity for revenge. So
That's right. You should take your revenge, OneUp.
But yeah, guys, it was a pleasure to watch. This was a fun run. You both were doing well. Just one disaster is sometimes gonna seal it. And you know, like I said, anybody that runs this game is familiar with that. We all know the feeling, dying the cold stare, and we all know the feeling of dying the cold stare and feeling like you have to keep going and you don't really want to. So GG's to Pika. It's something we've all been through. GG's to OneUp. Pretty solid run, all things considered, I'd say. And good luck in your next matches.
All right,
Alright,
yeah,
just-
thanks,
Yep.
and thanks for the comms. I'm looking forward to listening back and seeing what all you guys had to say, and yeah, thanks for the restream as well. To Zelda Speedruns.
No problem.
Yep, thanks for all that. Good luck on your next match, OneUp.
Just Cleamos want to add anything to that?
I just want to say thank you, OneUp, and thank you, Pikapals, for putting on such a great race. So it's actually really fun to commentate. And yeah, especially Pikapals. OneUp, obviously. Congratulations on moving forward in the winners bracket. And Pika, like, as Blaine said, it is sometimes very difficult to keep playing mentally when you've kind of had one mishap after another. So really glad to see you finish up.
Alright, well, before we head out here, just want to give a thank you again to Burner and Cleamos for commentating the second match today. Unfortunately, this is the end for today, but if you like A Link to the Past NMG, we've got 2 more matches tomorrow. We've got, let me just double check on the schedule. We've got MC Monkey 819 versus Vortex of Doom. That's going to be tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, or midnight Central European time. And we've got another match 3 hours after that. We've got Brewers Fan JP versus Kelpsy. Both of these on the losers bracket. First one is losers bracket round 3, and second one is losers bracket round 2. The second one is at 10 p.m. Eastern or 3 a.m. Central European time. So a little bit of late NA matches, but if you like those, if you like A Link to the Past, then that's your time to tune in. But aside from that, don't really have anything else myself to say. So if you wanna end the stream, you can have the honors.
All right, thanks everybody for tuning in, hanging out with us. Looking forward to the next one. Until then, you guys have fun.
Yeah, have a good night.